Hey, happy Friday, everyone. Hope you are doing well. It is the end of the work week. The weekend is here, and I'm here at work getting ready for the day. And this is In the Raw, unscripted, unpracticed, unedited conversation. Today is what's known as the 100 days of school. 100 days of school, and I'm wearing this t-shirt that says, bruh, I survived 100 days of 6-7. If you don't know what 6-7 is, ask the younger kids. They will know, and if you know, you know. Anyways, we've been talking about habits, and we've been talking about the importance of why habits are important in our lives, and we've been talking about 5 different areas that we need to grow with these habits: and intellectual, social, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And I want to focus, as I said in the previous video, I want to focus in the spiritual area, the spiritual growth first. And so here's 2 options. If you were presented with these 2 options for living, which would you choose? Option A. Option A is that you can live a busy, noisy, nonstop life. But here's what it leads to. It leads to frustration, conflict surrounds you, confusion dominates you, and stress overwhelms you. That's option A. Option B is that you can live a life that is peaceful, that is, that you can, have satisfaction. It's not busy, it's not noisy. You learn to hang out with God, you learn from Him. And the result is, like I said, satisfaction, a peace beyond your understanding. You receive God's insight, and faith replaces worry. So which one would you choose? Would you choose option A or option B? I think even the question is foolish, right? We would be out of our minds if we didn't choose option B. And that's why it's important to develop spiritual habits in order to live in communion with God. And so what does that mean? What does living in communion with God truly mean? Well, Paul speaks to the Philippians, and he tells them this. This is in Philippians chapter 2, verse 12. Dear friends, you always followed my instructions when I was with you. And now that I am away, it is even more important. Work hard to show the results of your salvation, obeying God with deep reverence and fear. What the Apostle Paul is telling them is this: when I was with you, you lived well, following all the instructions. But now that I'm no longer with you, it's important that you continue to grow by obeying God. If your spiritual growth is limited to only when you come to church, you're most likely not to grow. You're not going to grow spiritually. And that's what Paul is saying to the Philippians. So let me share some truths with you about spiritual growth. The first truth is your relationship with God must grow. 2 Peter 3:18 says, grow in the loving favor that Christ gives you. Can't read this morning, sorry. Learn to know our Lord Jesus Christ better. He is the one who saves. May He have all shining greatness now and forever. Let it be so. So you were designed to be in a relationship with God. And good relationships need to grow, as you know. Imagine this. It's December 25, 1987. That was the day Aide Cuadras became Aide Avalos. That's my wife. And I became the happiest man in the world. Imagine, we're married. We say I do to each other. We promise before God to live together for the rest of our lives. But when we get home, we go to separate bedrooms. When we're going to the same place, we drive in separate cars. We maintain separate bank accounts. We get together a couple times a year, maybe on birthdays and anniversaries. Do you think that we're going to have a good relationship? Of course not. It would be a terrible marriage. You might be wondering, what does that have to do with spiritual growth? Well, many people do exactly the same thing. They say, I do to God. They make a commitment to Him, but they spend very little time with Him, once or twice a week when they go to church. If you limit your relationship with God to that, you won't be able to grow spiritually. Something is wrong because you were designed to have a relationship with God. The second truth is that spiritual growth is a lifelong journey. And Luke 1:75 says, you can live in a way that is good and right. You can do this all your lives. I love this. It's a lifelong journey. When I think of the word journey, I think of a trip. And when I think of a trip, I think of a family getting together into a camper and going on a road trip. That was my childhood. We did this a lot in my family when I was a kid. I have memories of several trips to Sinaloa. Once we even made it all the way to Mexico City in that camper. What wonderful memories I have of those trips. And that's what life is. Life is a journey. And that's what the Christian life is like. When I decided to follow Christ, my understanding of what it meant to be a follower of Christ was very limited. But 48 years later, my perspective is very different. Why? Because I've traveled further in this journey. God isn't finished with me yet. Perhaps I'm further along than others, but God isn't finished with me yet. He continues to work in my life because I'm still in His journey. Spiritual growth is a lifelong journey. And the third truth is, developing spiritual habits will help you grow on your own. 1 Timothy 4:16 says, focus on working on your own development and on what you teach. If you do this, you will save yourself and those who hear you. Why do we say this? Because we must reach a point in our lives where we say, I'm not here because of my parents' faith, nor because of my pastor's faith. I'm here because of my own faith, and I have to grow spiritually on my own. I don't know how many of you enjoy cooking, but I was looking at some statistics about how many people cook. 87% of young people don't know how to cook. That's more than 50% of adults don't even know how to cook an egg because they rely on somebody else to do it. That's astonishing. Imagine, if you only eat when someone feeds you, you'll eventually starve. Of course, we all have a survival instinct. And if no one feeds us, we don't have money to buy food, we're going to find a way to eat whatever we can. This is how it should be in our spiritual lives. We must have that spiritual survival instinct. For many people, feeding their spirit once a week on Sunday is not enough. But when Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday arrive, we're starving. We try to satisfy that hunger with other things, but it doesn't work. All because we haven't learned how to nourish ourselves spiritually. Our spiritual survival instinct must lead us to how to feed ourselves. So those are 3 truths that I want you to think about spiritual growth. First one was your relationship with God must grow. The second one, your spiritual growth is a lifelong journey. And the third one, developing spiritual habits will help you grow on your own. It's got to be done on your own. All right, we're going to continue talking about this in the next few videos. And we're going to talk about the habits that we need to develop to be in communion with God. Okay, we're going to talk about those. All right, well, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, an amazing weekend. We will talk to you soon.